All right, Armand, you want to pull this up?
What were we talking
Yeah.
about?
All right, so Toby, the CEO of Shopify, put out an internal memo about AI usage, and it got leaked. So he just published the whole thing for all of us to read. So we're not going to read the whole thing here.
TLDR this for me?
Yeah. Basically, he's saying that before AI was a suggestion, I highly suggested that everyone use it, and he's seen such good examples that it's now mandatory in AI usage. And he gives kind of like 5 things. 1, using AI effectively is now a fundamental expectation of everyone at Shopify. He wants to see everyone using it both as like a deep thinker, a co-thinker, a coder, everything. AI must be part of your GSD prototype phase. I don't know what a GSD phase is, but it's probably their way of getting things done. So he's basically saying before you come with an idea, you got to AI.
Oh, I had the same thought.
Yeah, like he's saying prototype it, use it, learn it before you even ask a designer or developer to touch it, probably. 3, we will add AI usage questions to our performance and peer review questionnaire. So you're now going to be graded on how capable you are and how much use you get out of AI. 4, learning is self-directed, but sharing what you learn. So basically you're on your own to learn this shit because it's easier than ever to learn it. But when you do learn something, you have to share it so that everyone else can get the same benefit. And here's the big one. 5, before asking for more headcount and resources, teams must demonstrate why they cannot get what they want done using AI. What would this area look like if autonomous agents were already part of the team? This question could lead to really fun discussions and projects. And he has a last like rounding note. But the big thing is like, you can't hire a human until you prove that it cannot be done with AI. I love it.
This is happening faster than I imagined.
This is Nick's wet dream right here.
And well, it's just a natural evolution of things. And now he's saying, yes, this is how we're going to do things from now on. And I think it's a natural inclination for most businesses. And it's just interesting to see a CEO of a, I don't know, $100 billion company, $50 billion company, whatever they are, be like, yeah, this is the way we get things done. So either get on board or get left behind.
Is this what you're doing?
I think we're kind of already here now. Like if someone doesn't use it as at the very least a thought partner, right? You have an idea and you need someone to discuss it with, you should use it. Deep researcher for sure, a critic, an idea generator, a tutor, pair programmer. Like you kind of get lost. And I mean, we've already done it. We came up with a few job descriptions, and those job descriptions started off on a path of creating like a series of autonomous agents. So the 2 things I mentioned before we're working on is like customer service. We're like, man, we need like a US-based customer service manager. And we're like, wait, why don't we just use AI to do it? And now our customer service AI agent is like fully live. So it's on 24/7. It's got a 50% escalation rate. So 50% of the time it asks a human, hey, do this action. Even though it could do it itself, we haven't turned that on, like issue someone a refund or whatever. It sends a task list to a human, hey, here's the order number, issue this refund for this much. And then also escalates when it's unsure what's going on. So
awesome.
And the times it doesn't do that, it's got a very high like integrity rate. Like the answer is within the realms of, it's better than what our humans were doing because it's fully customized. It knows who you are, your previous orders, your previous chain of communications with us. Where are you like in the buying process? And it does really thoughtful responses that are catered to them. And so that escalation process, 50% now, but I can imagine in 3 months that being like 20% and then eventually getting to like 5%. And now we have this thing that took, 50 plus humans to do, and it just takes 5 to just oversee QA and we're there. And we even thought about hiring like a creative strategist, a human to come up with new ideas, look at data and come up with new ideas. And now anyone in the company can hit a button. It spits out ideas based upon the product you're working on. If you're buying it on Facebook or Google or YouTube, and in one click, it just pipes in the script, the specifications for a video editor. So if human still has to edit it, and then it gets pumped out. So I could see in those two things it being real for us, and I imagine it can be real. I mean, you guys do it for customers, but have you guys done it at all in your own internal processes yet, or
Yeah, I
where,
mean,
where are
like,
you guys
we're
seeing
a
it?
very, like, I'm the least technical person on my team, so it's like everything that we do is what can AI take on for us. So like number 5 for me was the coolest thing, and I think that already the way I hire in general, and I think this is a better framework, but already the way I've always thought about growing a startup is I need to see real pain. I almost want to see blood. Like, I don't mean that literally, but it's like we need to be bottlenecking. We need to be bleeding metaphorically in an area of the business in order, and repeatedly. So I want to see a pattern before justifying a hire. And then that hire needs to have an immediate, not just impact on that bottleneck or on that bleeding or on that component of the business, but an immediate ROI. And then that hire comes with all of its capability to utilize AI as well. So each individual is 10xing. And so you end up needing to not just hire less frequently, but less people than you originally intended, because you're getting such a higher output from each individual. So like at this point, like there is almost nothing that I do, even as a mostly non-technical person in my role, like that doesn't revolve around AI to some degree, whether it's a new logo or an email or a pricing negotiation or, fighting for a customer or negotiating with a customer. I mean, there's almost nothing that doesn't, revolve around utilizing AI.
I found a quote in here that Eric might like. In there, he says, my sense is that a lot of people give up after writing a prompt and not getting the ideal thing back immediately. Learning to prompt and load context is important, and getting peers to provide feedback on how this is going will be valuable. And I think this is like 70% of the human population where they're like, doesn't work.
Maybe more. Definitely more.
More.
And I think that one of the points in there that was really important too is like share your learnings and work, because most people are so bad at prompting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've watched people talk to AI and they're bad. And I'm not trying to be like elitist about it, but like I really, it's just it's a skill.
Good.
It's a skill you develop.
Yeah.
I was bad. Like it's taken, hundreds of hours of AI audio, podcasts, YouTube, and like experimentation to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm getting really good at this. I'm getting really comfortable with this, where I can achieve my outcome much more rapidly. And it's still actually really, it's hard. It's mentally exhausting to get what you want, but it's 100 times better than the previous process. So it's like every time I think about something, I just have like little frameworks in my head, like outcome, example, context, file attachment. And I'm sitting there like, what file can I attach to provide context for this? And most people don't operate like that. Most people are like, respond to this legal question.
Right.
They paste in the legal question. What's the fucking context?
Yeah.
Are you a C corporation? Do you need this deal? Is there an example of a response you like? And so again, these learnings, as people develop them, throw them in the company Slack and have a channel for this and go, hey, dude, I just got a great result from this. Or, hey, check out this tweet. Like we have a research channel. It's just constantly like things we see, things we try, things we do, and we're just all learning.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm noticing in our company Slack, people sending, instead of examples of work or other people doing work, they started sending more like, this is the prompt I used to get this.
Mm-hmm.
And people are sending prompts back and together so they can, hopefully everyone can get a little better. But
one thing on that, like the power, remember when I sent you that tweet from the media buyer?
Oh yeah.
Like how impactful was that for the company? Like and you had, I think you said your business partner saw it already, or you sent it to him immediately.
Yeah, we immediately gave it to the team and was like, in 2 days we're going to meet and I want to see the results from you using this prompt series.
Yeah, it was like this media buyer on Twitter who posted this like mega thread of like, here's how I do competitive research and create ads and write amazing copy for, these products. And it was like detailed. And it was just like, copy paste this, use it. It's a framework. It's so powerful. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how when we did our last round of interviews for like a senior software engineer, we obviously give them a technical test, right? And we give them problem set. They're in Replit. We watch them code live, and we turn off all the AI tools, right, to make sure they still know how to code themselves. But we were thinking, like, if we ever hire a non-technical person, like anything, HR, operations, marketing, supply chain, we should do a live test of like, what is your skills? How resourceful are you using these like productivity hacks available to you?
Yeah, how good of a vibe coder are you?
Right.
Because
And
everyone can vibe code.
I think that's like a legitimate.
If you can talk and describe what you want, you can vibe code.
I think it's a legitimate test for every single role. Maybe not technical because it kind of helps them cheat in their thing, but everything else, I want to see them cheat and get 10 times more productive.
Yeah. I'm at the point where I even view like I actually want to see how technical people utilize AI first, because all I really want to see from a technical person is like, can you review the code and go, okay, this is a fucking mess, and understand how to prompt it to clean it up, and are you good at deleting? Because and do you understand the basics of like, if you're an AI guy, like, are you good at Python? But like, if you're good at Python, that's fine. But 90% of the time, you should probably be using Cursor.
So
to
like
vibe code.
a coder now is probably only just going the last mile.
They understand. They're overviewing.
They're using the vibe coding for 95% of it after you massage it. And then they probably still have to walk the last 5% of it.
Or
right?
maybe recreate it from scratch,
Yeah.
but it's the proof of concepts done. Like, we have non-technical people creating applications or ideas that work. You can click, they function with using only English. And, it may not scale, it may not be fully secure. Like,
It's not like good production level code, maybe.
but we got 90% there without a very expensive employee in a 2-month-long process of like design, wireframing.
And that MVP literally would have taken that long. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, actually the MVP that I had in my mind that was going to have this like $200,000 employee build is actually not what I want now that I tested it out. It's actually a little different. And then just efficiency gains all the way through.
For sure.
So-
Yeah. It's the best coders it's a combination of like, they're providing the scaffolding and then AI is generating the rest, and they're able to kind of like work alongside it.
I guess like this conversation, I don't find that interesting because I know it's only a matter of time until it eventually does everything that we imagine anyways. It's not like how you prompt it is like the now problem, but soon it will just sort of swallow everything.
Well, I mean, to your point, we've created models that make the prompt better. So like it basically,
and I guess like
there's a model that creates the prompt that then does it. And even Alan Bryce said, turtles all the way down, use a prompt to make a better prompt.
Do you
And, like-
use the prompts to make the prompts?
We do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, the machine is like intended to learn from itself, and like then the prompting won't have to be so difficult, and it will ultimately be easy. I guess like the thing that I'm most interested in is like a question that like we've discussed at length for years. It's like, okay, so if machines replace labor, that's fine because technology has kind of like prompted that over millennia. Where do you envision labor going in this transition period? It's probably going to be difficult, but then like, where do you envision labor going in the next 10 years or so? Like at some point, labor has to go somewhere. Like what business, what like services are rendered durable enough for people to continue actually working when like machines are doing most people's jobs?
When you say labor, are you talking like knowledge work?
Any work. Like I suppose like
Makes sense to start there, at least.
yeah, we can start there, but I'm actually talking about all of it. But like, I think that labor in general is going to be disrupted to a degree that we've never really seen before, and like I think that's going to be a massive problem.
I don't know. I get conflicted about this. Like, is there going to be massive layoffs because of this? I don't know. Or will just everyone get 2x on average? The mean will be everyone gets 1.5 times more productive. And in best cases, people get 10 to 100 times.
Well, I mean,
more
number
productive.
5 of this thing you just shared basically speaks to the fact that they're not going to hire humans for the role.
I mean, so AI is displacing human labor. It's not I think there was a while where I was like, it's just going to make people much more effective and productive. But what we do have to realize is it is displacement. Like it is a direct
I guess
displacement.
you're right. In the customer service example, there might be 40 people who don't have a
Sure.
customer service job.
Yeah,
And like
direct labor reduction cost is the highest value driver of AI right now. And when you look at ServiceNow, when you look at Invisible, when you look at Palantir, like these are the organizations that are thriving the most.
And
It's
like the
bringing these agents into organizations.
academic view of this would be like, oh, cool. So that frees up that headcount or that labor to do something else productive. And that makes the whole society more productive.
Yeah.
But my question is to do what?
Well, it could take 50 years.
Right. And if
And
it
I'm
takes
starting
10,
to think it could take 10,
I don't
20,
think it takes
50
that
years.
long because
Right.
technology
Guys,
has always evolved like
It's not going
this.
to take that. Like since the dawn of technology, jobs have been
Right.
displaced by technology.
But
The
there
unemployment
have
rate-
been periods of time where there was huge displacement, and it took time to recreate the
when
types
has
of
there
jobs.
been? Like this is an honest question. Like when has there been like any period of time where technology caused like massive unemployment that was like sustained?
It's a good question. I don't know, but I imagine that this could be one of those times.
Like, but this is like somebody had this exact same conversation during like the Industrial Revolution, you know,
Mhm.
or when like the printing press was like created, or it's like the same conversation.
But the printing press is like siloed into one function.
Yeah.
This is like every function.
Yeah,
But it's not though.
all
like
at the same time.
you're replacing labor that is not that valuable by definition because it's now being replaced by something that's like sort of like machine like, and then it frees up that human capital to do.
To do what?
Well, what do you
that-
mean it's not that valuable? Like you can literally get to a point where you replace most creative knowledge work that human beings are doing today. Say you did that for every function.
Coding is a good example of it. When you say it's not that valuable, right? You went from a situation where some random there was a world where like a few years ago where some developer who wasn't that good would just make like 250 grand a year in some job, right?
Mhm.
And then AI comes in and basically like renders that guy moot, right? So by definition, what he did becomes not that valuable because now it's been replaced by if what you used to do becomes replaced by infinite cheap software, then immediately you're definitionally
agree.
like not that.
I agree with
valuable,
that. And
right?
like maybe that guy, it's like the equivalence is like that guy just speaks a language that is scarce. Like that's fine. But what if like what does that guy now do? Like this is my question. It's like, okay, so now you free him up to do what?
Okay,
Like,
well, what's interesting is that in most of those roles, let's say in a customer service role, right? Who's valuable in that situation? Is it the individual rep who actually takes the calls or responds to emails, or is it someone who like knows this landscape of AI, can harness those tools to manage a team or build a system? Like the leap from the customer service agent who actually was doing calls to level up to that, what is even more in value now, is not that hard. Like it takes them to do some self-learning and agency and ambition and all that good stuff. But I mean, it could take them months. It's not like it takes you years to become more valuable. You see what I'm saying?
so you're saying that the person doesn't need to be necessarily displaced. They can just
Well, they could be displaced in the role they are now, but then to become valuable again, if they're like, okay, well, what displaced me? Oh,
Yes, but you're not dealing with a 1-for-1, right?
No,
It's
you're
a
dealing for like
it's a 1 out of 10, perhaps. Like
But that
can
role-
ascend into that role of managing AI systems.
right. So managing AI systems, maybe there's like 10,000 of them now, but like in 5 years, there could be a million of those jobs,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because every system's going to need someone to manage, tweak, monitor.
Yeah, I think Eric's point is it's not a 1-for-1 transfer from like I got
For right
displaced to
And-
now
and-
I'm managing an AI system.
and like
you know?
I agree with Steven's point. I think we talked about this at length. It's like, of course, technology has looked like many things over time. It looked like a wheel at one point, and it's been displacing labor. Technology has been displacing labor for the duration of time. I'm just wondering if this time is any different because it feels like it could be potentially different, and it could be like a massive displacement of labor at the same time, and that could be something that would be difficult to manage.
I just don't think it's different. I think that anytime you're talking about like displacing human labor, you're just creating this like sort of like new paradigm of efficiency. You're creating this vacuum that people can just step into and be more efficient, right? You take this back to like the freaking sewing machine. You took somebody who was like a mediocre sewer and they got replaced by like, the sewing robot or something, right? But maybe that person, even though they're mediocre at sewing, like they had like a good mind for sewing. They weren't good at executing it, but they were good at like managing the process around it. And suddenly you took this person who was like a mediocre laborer and they could just manage like an entire floor aided by technology. And like you can play that scenario out like
I think it's different.
everywhere.
I think it's different because what we've always done with technology is replace physical labor. This is intellectual horsepower. This is like literally replacing the intellect of human beings. And that's fundamentally different than like a better, sewing machine or a printing press to replace like me putting the book together and doing it's different. It is the raw horsepower and
computers
intellect.
already did this. You used to have people who were like valuable because they knew a lot of things, and then we created computers and the internet, and then people could just like look shit up, and then those people weren't of the same value anymore. And that didn't like destroy anything. It just like created like an expansive new landscape of like opportunities for like economic flourishing.
I understand your main point is that like you let the free market sort of work its way through and it kind of like solves itself.
It's basically like Jevons paradox. We've talked about that a bunch. It's like the same freaking thing. I think like the economic like capacity, it just expands to fill the void in some way. Like things get created that like nobody knew what the fuck a graphic designer was in like 1422, right? But like, or nobody knew what a social media manager was, right? Things happen, the economy changes, new stuff gets created, and then human capital just kind of goes in to fill these voids. And then like as time progresses, like we just go more and more and more kind of service based in a way, or high level, less working with our hands, which I think is generally good.
Yeah, I just think that we're underestimating the pace of development, right? So like a lot of these things that have happened up until now happen on a slow enough aspect of the curve that there's time to think about the next thing to do and then to place people into those positions. At the rate of acceleration that it's happening, there's going to be an era of confusion of like, what do I do now?
That's a good
I
point.
do not disagree with you that people will find things to do to enable deeper productivity and creativity and then step out of the things that we don't need to do anymore. I don't think that'll be a problem. It'll just take time.
I disagree with this point as well, because like I think there's never been an easier time to be displaced by technology, right? Because imagine being displaced by like the computer in like 1989. The fuck did you do? You just get displaced and then you're just like, okay. Like if you get displaced by AI right now, right? You have like AI, like you can go access a thing and just immediately like know a thing and just pivot it. Like AI is this like crazy democratizing technology that like gives everybody this like immediate access to stuff, versus like you were really good at sewing and then you get displaced by a sewing machine. The fuck did you do? Like you still did stuff, but it was like you have more flexibility to pivot now than you ever have. Like this idea that I think the technology is moving faster than ever before is true, but also people's ability to leverage the technology to keep pace with stuff is the highest it has ever been. So I think it's like compensating.
Yeah, but that's a skill set a lot of people don't have, as we were just describing.
Yeah, but like it's an easier skill set. Again, like we're moving towards a world of like we talked about this like earlier with like the extinction with the animals and the genetics and stuff. We're moving towards a world where the barrier between what can I envision in my brain and manifest into reality is going to zero.
Yeah.
Across like all sorts of like areas, across like what you want your baby to be tall with blue eyes, or like you have like a creative vision for a movie, but you don't know how to direct, you know how to film, but like now you can just think it and it exists, right? Like as those barriers get broken down, the barrier that is in the way of you going from your current state that got displaced to like a new kind of world that you can live in and be productive is also being like completely broken down. Like it's so fluid right now, right? So I think there are way more barriers to technology in the 80s. There were way more barriers to being displaced by technology in the early 1900s and the Industrial Revolution I actually think that it's easier now to be displaced by tech than it ever has been because you can bounce back so much more readily.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
The Buddha says, I think we go back to growing our own food. Doctors, lawyer, architect, teacher, all gone.
Lawyers are like an interesting one because I actually feel like doctors as well. Like doctors and lawyers have always been like the quintessential like Indian, Asian tiger parent kind of thing. Like you doctor, lawyer, and it's like the most commoditized thing now from like my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in law school, I'd be like,
Oh my, like going to law school right now seems fucking insane.
But if you already own a practice and are already profitable,
Yes.
it seems amazing because you're like, I forget what they're called, like legal assistants or whatever that do all the research and just kind of handle the workflow of paralegal. Yeah. Keeping the cases going. There's like a set base of rules and schedules that you have to follow and research. Gone.
Your labor overhead on a law firm is like insane.
Yeah. But now you can
just go to zero. Like you take like a couple of great like legal minds and just
so it's
leverage
like
that to the tits.
I think in Interstellar, the movie Interstellar, they kind of just like had this bifurcation where you're either like the tip of the spear of like intellect or you're a farmer. Do you remember that? Like the son was like of the same family. The daughter like went to NASA or something, but the son was like, "You're going to be a farmer."
like the teachers kind of decided
Yeah.
you're going to farmer
That's like
school.
what modern society is, though. It's like coming around to the like freaking South Park episode where the like the contractor is going to Home Depot to like pick up the lawyer. You know, he's like driving up in his he's driving up in his like iced out truck, and he's like looking for like a lawyer, and they're all like, like begging for work because nobody knows how to work with their hands anymore. Like it's a real thing. It's for sure a real thing. And like those the best compensated jobs, like relative to the amount of like education you have to put in or the cost of education. Right. It's like a freaking joke.
So the pendulum swings more towards the trades in the interim.
Yeah, it already has been.
Yeah, it already has been.
Until like the thing that will disrupt that is like robotics, right? Yeah. But we're pretty far from like a robot electrician coming into your house.
Yeah,
right?
Or just supply gets saturated where like enough people go into the trades where those become like
I think the robotics thing is like way more interesting as like a disrupting force than AI. To be honest,
yeah, I was kind of grouping those two things together, but they should be.
It's the next evolution.
Yeah,
because it's like we're like a service economy, right? And the robot is blow up.
Where's
so
the
much
first place I will see a robot in my day-to-day life?
My house. I'm gonna buy that. Yeah. I'm buy that Tesla one.
I think home care,
restaurant,
child care, elderly care.
I would think
restaurant.
Yeah, I think you like you go to McDonald's
if you go to Japan today, you can go to a restaurant and like a little robot thing brings food out to you.
Yeah, that's like the robot makes your burger or something,
or it just carries it to you. Right?
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just basic stuff.
Yeah,
like having a human go into in a world where like I can get into my car, click a button, and it could drive me to freaking Joshua Tree. Right? We don't have like a robot that can go to kitchen, get dish, bring it to your table. Like that's very basic stuff.
Right.
And this is actually a good example of the other thing we were talking about, because this wouldn't displace servers. It would displace some servers, right? But if you're a good server, like what makes you a good server? Your ability to take the food out? No. It's like your ability to like interact with people, to make them feel good, to do all this other intangible stuff. And so if you have the robots taking the food out and doing all the manual stuff, that you can service more tables and you can make more money, and the guy who owns the restaurant can actually save money while paying you more, and the customers are happier. It's kind of like this like win-win.
I could see that.
I mean, what makes you think that the best servers won't get replaced too?
Alan Bryce, who I believe is in Japan, says, yeah, we have robot waitstaff. It's basically a self-driving food cart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not going to replace... You're not going to replace a waiter with a robot anytime soon in a place where you go there for like the vibe.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you go to a Denny's, like nobody goes to a Denny's and they're like, oh yeah, I just like love interacting with the servers here. That's like why I come to the Denny's. No, you come to the Denny's because it's 3 a.m. and you're drunk and you just need pancakes for some reason. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But like you go to like a nice steakhouse.
Statement. Yeah. What's that? Such a non-dad statement. I think you go to Denny's in the
What would
morning.
Dad say?
Go to Denny's in the morning, get
Flapjacks.
get a cup of coffee and a grand slam.
Yeah.
All right.
And slam breakfast.